And this is directly towards the UL administration.
Oh, boy, here we go.
You are trying to get rid of Greek life on your campus. You wonder why attendance at football games is so fucking bad? It's because you're kicking off the people who, whenever they graduate, donate money directly back to the university. And welcome back to Unwoken, telling you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you motherfuckers who don't want to listen. Here today with my producer, extraordinaire Carter Simoneaux.
Hey.
Got a few bones to pick with him about sports.
Okay.
But we're going to get into about AcadianaCasts Network, which brings me to the next thing. Make sure to go like and subscribe to this video. It helps us out a lot. Ring the bell if you want to be notified whenever we publish more content as well. Go to at AcadianaCast on TikTok, correct? Or is it Acadiana_cast on TikTok? It's Acadiana_cast on TikTok and at AcadianaCast on Instagram as well. And at Lord Scotty D on Instagram. No more TikTok. We're done. We're done with fucking TikTok, all right?
TikTok's dead.
TikTok is dead to me.
Not for us.
Which brings me to one of the reasons I got almost kicked off. I literally just asked people, what does LGBTQ plus stand for? Nobody gave me a straight answer.
That's what you got kicked off TikTok for?
You didn't get that one?
Oh, Jesus. I should have known, like, before we started recording, you had all these, dad jokes, and I just walked right into that one.
They were solid, though. They were solid. All right, Carter, I want to know something about you. Name the 3 most influential people in your life and how they impacted it.
People that are directly involved in my life, or
something that correlates to why you decided music, first of all. Mm-hmm. What made you have that big love for music? Who in your life brought that into there? And how you got started, who influenced you to be able to do all this?
Well, I'd probably say the easy answer is my parents. Both my mom and dad are musicians. I grew up playing in a kind of a wedding band with them, going to New Orleans all the time. I didn't have to have, for the longest time, I'd have a real job in college because I'd go home like once a month, get about $400 from a gig, let that coast me throughout the rest of that month. And that was all my beer money.
A whole month?
Yeah. Sometimes it was twice a month. But then I ended up working at Rufino's and then, doing the quarter draft thing and a bunch of other small things here and there. But, they have a great love for all kinds of different types of music. When I was in high school, we had Jazz Fest in New Orleans. They would take me out of school once a year to go on that Thursday to Jazz Fest because they believed that I could get a better education in culture and music, more so than, learning geometry or whatever I was going to learn that day. So I would just come back, and Brother Ray, our principal, would he would tell students, "Hey, don't go to Jazz Fest, like we have school to do." And then I would come back all sunburned, and he was like, "Where were you?" I was like, family event." And so
you weren't lying.
No, but my dad loved, still does, Jimmy Buffett, everything from Jimmy Buffett to old country like Chesney and some Alabama to Earth, Wind and Fire and the OJs and. They also had a Cajun band at one point, so I got to experience Acadiana early on, going to Festival Acadiana Creole. And between their musical taste and them being musicians, that's where I really fell in love with music. But sometimes when you're involved with that so much that you need a break. And so that's kind of like where podcasts kind of came into my life. I didn't want to listen to music all the time anymore. I needed a break from that. And so I started getting into more and more podcasts, particularly when I was working for the news. I just thought there was a better way of communicating than what we were doing. I think there's always going to be a need for local news and information. But the way that they're structured is that, it's like about a 30-minute show or 30-minute segment, depending on what type of show it is. And you get just quick hits of what's going on. There's really no full context. You don't get to go deep into real issues. And at the most, as a reporter, you have maybe a minute and a half to tell like the full story. And I thought there was a better way to communicate, especially in this world that we live in with instant gratification on social media and whatnot. I believe that human beings crave long form conversation. It's in our DNA. It's a healthier way to communicate, and that's what was kind of the genesis of Acadiana Cast. So from, being in the music world to, and also in high school, I did theater, I did plays, which, I got plenty of made fun of for that. But at St. Paul's, honestly, like, people were if you were passionate about something, like people respected that, no matter like what you did, whether you were in band or theater or football. And so I really appreciated. It was a great place to grow up, like in a safe place to kind of follow what you liked. And so I was always used to being on stage, whether I was performing or playing music. And that kind of led me to, the ability to go on TV and, wake people up every morning at 5 a.m. and talk about how shitty their day is. And then, like I said, I wanted to find something, a healthier way to do that. And I also didn't like words coming out of my mouth that weren't my own. So Acadiana Cast just kind of came from all that.
So what's the hardest thing about doing all this? You have four different shows.
And a couple more on the way.
The Art of Business, which is what you host on Wednesdays that comes out.
Yeah.
You have another one we're not going to mention. Then you have the Tea.
Yeah.
And
I'll mention it, Free Matty. And then we have Unwoken.
Yeah, he mentioned it, not me.
We have another one that's about to launch called Law Have Mercy with a local lawyer that we're going to be recording about like a bunch of episodes all in one day and then, release them as like a season or something like that. A couple more that we're kind of working on. I got a meeting this week. But I guess to answer your question, the hardest part is, I guess, showing folks that we're here and just trying to build an audience. And, when people have been consuming the same type of content for generations, it's hard, especially South Louisiana folks are quite stubborn and they don't like change. And so it's to try and show them that, like, hey, we're not trying to supplement what is already here. It's just to give people another option, another avenue to take in content, particularly about your local area or via people who are from here who are just talking about whatever they want, So that's been a challenging part is just trying to grow the thing. I invested most of the money with Acadiana Cast into like tech and useless signs like this that I had to string up so you could get the glare out of it. I'm sure if you watch a couple previous episodes, you'll see the big glare in the sign, but now you can't see it because I jerry rigged it.
That's some Cajun ingenuity, man.
Yeah, I'd try. A buddy of ours, Joe Fuentes, shout out Joe, he's an engineer. He tried to print or try to cut me out some like blocks to put on the back, just the little spacers, but that didn't work because it involved me having to put the blocks into the wall, and that's about as high as far as I can get. In fact, those holes were already in there, and so I just literally just put those fisheye hooks in there and just screwed them in. But yeah, no, so that's a challenging part. That's the biggest problem right now is just showing people that we're here, and so that's hopefully more guests, different types of guests we bring on, and we're developing a marketing plan right now with my mom actually, who's a marketing executive, so she's gonna be helping us with that, and hopefully just get the word out on Acadiana Cast, and bring in some viewers and listeners.
So there's a different kind of marketing technique you'd use compared to living back in Covington that you'd have to use here.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of same similarities, but knowing who your market is and your audience, and right now I'm aiming everything at Acadiana people. Do I want other people across the state and the country to listen to it and the world? Of course, yeah, that'd be great. But when it comes to bringing in businesses in this community to sponsor, it helps to have people who are from here who are listening to it, so they can, it gives them a reason to brand or market their stuff on here, because ideally if someone is listening to Acadiana Cast, they're probably somewhat invested in their community, and if they are, then they'll be more likely to frequent businesses that are sponsored on the show. And already this is not just Acadiana, this is just podcasting in general, 65% of all podcast listeners have bought something that they heard on a podcast ad, which the ROI on that is much more than traditional media and other ads.
You're welcome, Jaws.
There you go.
Yep. But I think it's interesting how you can kind of distinguish the different shows that we have, how you have to be just completely unbiased.
I acknowledge that everyone has their biases, and I think that's what makes podcasting so great, is that people go into it like you're not just a figurehead like on like the news trying to act like you're down the middle, which you're not. So when you walk into a podcast and you understand the biases of the host, then you can accept what they're telling you a little bit easier. It's easier to digest. But when it comes to running the network, yeah, I got to remain unbiased about what type of content I want to bring in. Is there content on our platform, including yours sometimes, of like, I don't agree with what's coming out of the host's mouth or their guest? Yeah, of course. But that's the beauty of free speech, and I want this to be a free speech platform, as long as you're not actively calling for violence or slandering and libeling people,
And speaking of free speech, Facebook and Twitter created special portals for the government to rapidly request takedowns of content.
I saw that.
Yeah, the portals, along with the NGO partners, used to censor a wide range of content, including obvious parody accounts and content disagreeing with government pandemic policy. Yep.
So that's the thing. As a libertarian, people often, I guess the argument like on its base level will be leave Twitter and Facebook alone. They're private businesses. However, I think the beauty of libertarianism is not just fighting government tyranny. It's tyranny from all sorts. It doesn't necessarily have to just come from government. So when these giant media conglomerates like a Twitter or Facebook are working hand and foot with the federal government to silence things, then you're no longer just a private business. You are actively involved in some sort of tyranny or draconian type measures to silence people's thoughts and words, and that's something that I don't agree with. And I'm glad Elon is taking over there at Twitter. Interested to see what's going to happen. I think people are already starting to notice that they're not being shadow banned or whatever anymore. But yeah, no, that's not a surprise when I saw that report. But it's nice that someone's covering it. However, I don't think it's going to be picked up by the big national media conglomerates. Maybe besides Fox News, because that's the side that they lie on. But yeah, it's definitely nice to see that a lot of people's fears were proven to be correct.
Yep. My buddy just said that. I said, those fucking assholes. He goes, no, Scott, we can't say that. He goes, we're conspiracy theorists, and we've been calling this for years now. But, I mean, libertarianism is more close to conservatism, I'd say so, because I believe, personally, limited government at its finest. Private businesses should be able to make their own call, which is why I said I'm fine with getting kicked off of TikTok, and they have the right to do so. But that's in China.
Right. But
so I don't know how much you want to talk about free speech in China, because it don't really exist.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. So they have some speech, but it's government regulated.
Could you imagine? That's why these people who go to North Korea and go to these communist countries and they get in trouble over there, they get thrown in jail or something like that. Why would you even go there? And now you're relying on us to trade in a Russian foreign arms dealer to get Brittany Griner out of Russia, which, I mean,
she's not getting it. I don't think they're going to do that.
You don't think so?
I mean, I doubt it. I think the leverage on America's side is, I mean, they have the better get as far as a political prisoner goes.
Yeah.
So I don't know why you would trade Brittany Griner. And also, I hate the idea of like us trading human beings. It's gross. Yeah. But that is the situation.
Foreign policy wise.
Yeah, that is the situation, though. I mean, that's exactly what it'd be. It'd be a person for a person and probably some other things. But yeah, that whole situation, everything in Russia is Ukraine, all that makes my head spin. This is what I will say about Russia, Ukraine. And this comes back to, I guess, libertarianism, and more so the kind of sect of libertarianism is the Mises Caucus, which is kind of like the Ron Paul sect of the Libertarian Party. And Ron Paul has this great video that you can find on YouTube from the 2008 Republican primary. It's him, I imagine, McCain, Giuliani, but the exchange was between him and Giuliani. And they're asking him about, us being in Afghanistan and whatnot. And Ron Paul basically just starts talking about, look, 9/11, bad, obviously, but we can't pretend that it was like they hated us because we're free. There's not people over there in the Middle East and whatnot saying like, oh God, America, they're so free. Let's go fuck with them. That's not what it was. It was years and years and years of the U.S. government involving themselves overseas, installing new governments, taking down regimes, starting these little proxy wars and injecting ourselves for oil or whatever it might be, or our own wants and needs as a country. And he said, when you have those, it makes more sense why a 9/11 would happen. And then, of course, Giuliani comes out and he's like, he virtue signals. Sir, are you trying to say that we are somewhat responsible for 9/11? And Ron Paul's like, no, that's not what I'm saying. But we can't act like we can do whatever we want and there won't be consequences. And same thing with Russia. Like with us pushing NATO closer and closer and closer to their border every single presidency that we've had, it'd be the same thing. And what that is us also putting, giant fucking missiles right on their border. How would we feel if Russia just comes to Mexico right on the border and is like, hey, we're going to be here? We would freak out. We would not like that. And that's, that's kind of where Putin's aggression came from. And so these aren't isolated incidents that we see across the world. And that's one of my biggest things that I'm trying to get into as far as politics goes, is just, reinforcing like America first. Let's get out of these silly little proxy wars. We have no business being over there. Put the resources to the people who live here. There are many people who are struggling and need the help. And you're not pissing off a potential a dictator with the largest nuclear arsenal in the world. That just seems bad business to me.
I can counter what you said a little bit there, because I can agree that we shouldn't be. Because if you ask half of our servicemen and women where they're stationed, half of them say outside of the U.S.
Yeah.
And then you have people coming to us saying, all right, we need universal health care, free college. That is an easy fix. You know what we do? Bring all of our soldiers, all of our military back home from out of these countries. But here's the problem with that. The next closest country to us that spent their military spending, we spend 32.6% of our GDP on military, which I'm fine with, perfectly fine with. The next closest country to us is China. And then after that, the next 27 countries combined don't even spend that much. So they are expecting us to police their own borders whenever all they have to do is spend more on their national defense.
Right.
If they do that, then we can pull our people out. But you can't expect us to be the police of the world and spend the same amount of money on free college and universal health care.
No, and I don't think we should do either. I don't want to police the world. There's no reason why America needs to be doing that. If we want to share our ideals, we do it by showing how good the free market is in America. We have been the leader in culture across the entire world for about 100 years now. We have crazy innovation in tech. All these different things don't come from government grants and whatnot. They come from ideas and a free society that allows people to challenge each other and get better and better and make better things. And if we lean into that, I think we'll have a better world where we're not getting money put into the pockets of politicians who benefit from making big military contracts with Raytheon and sending a bunch of shit over there that doesn't help us. It only antagonizes people, and it leads to things like 9/11 and what we're seeing in Russia and Ukraine, where in 2014, President Obama and his administration orchestrated a coup to destabilize their government and put in someone who we thought would be better. That only pissed off Putin even more. And then of course you have Biden and his son and the whole contracts over there with all that. So it's just been a spiral of us interfering in things that we have no business doing for them to benefit.
Did you see what Matt Gaetz said in the congressional hearing?
Mm-mm.
He was questioning the assistant director of the FBI cyber program, and he asked, do you know where the contents of Hunter Biden's laptop is? And he says, sir, I'm not willing to answer that, or I'm not able to answer that question.
Bullshit.
He goes, so you're talking about enforcing a cyber program. The FBI is trying to come and sit down and talk to us about a new cyber program the FBI wants to innovate.
Mm-hmm.
Yet you can't answer the question, where's the contents of Hunter Biden's laptop? He goes, sir, I can't answer that question. That's not what I'm here for. He goes, all right, good, because I have the contents right here, and I'd like to submit them in, Mr. Nadler, Mr. Chairman. Jerry Nadler and the Democrats said no. They vetoed submitting the evidence, saying they need more time to investigate the laptop situation. What more time do you need? That's the whole game that we're seeing with this whole political divide. I heard something brilliant that Bill Maher said. And y'all know how much I love Bill Maher, even though me and him think completely different on policy. He said, politics is supposed to be boring.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be this entertaining. And that's what it is. It's entertaining now, because I can't remember a time growing up, well, social media wasn't around, but I can't remember a time growing up where everything was about politics.
Yeah.
And I worked for politics, a political campaign for 8 years. After those 8 years, man, I've taken a break from it. I'm happy. I'm a lot happier taking a break from that.
Yeah. You're dealing with you get to deal with the real world.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it's just fairy dust.
But the biggest impact that politics can have on your life is local and state government.
Absolutely.
That's why the voting for local government is more important than it is for a presidential election. Oh, I don't want to say it like that.
No, I think it is.
But I mean, I'd say that local is the most important. Now, in terms of inflation and things of that nature, that's a whole different topic. So, who's your favorite band of all time?
Favorite band of all time? Probably
Rock and roll.
Probably the Eagles. Pound for pound, the Eagles.
Joe Walsh.
Yeah, Joe Walsh. Rest in peace to Glenn Fry.
His son killed it, dude, in that
Yeah.
concert.
Yeah, I saw them in New Orleans, and his son.
Killed it,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
It was awesome to watch that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really cool. I think Vince Gill was also there, but yeah, probably the Eagles. I could also say the Beatles, super influential, and especially for me as a guitar player, I had a chord book of just all the Beatles songs, and I was I could play a few things on guitar, but I really wasn't anything. It was like sophomore, going into my sophomore year of high school. And just one summer, I just sat down. I just learned these intricate chords that they were doing and understanding some of the changes, these chord progressions, and then something just clicked. And ever since then, I've kind of been the guitarist that I am today. Obviously, I've gotten better since that summer, but that allowed me to grow and really understand music on a different level, and I attribute that to the Beatles.
See, I love Sir Paul McCartney's Wings, though, man.
Mm-hmm.
Band on the Run is easily a top 5 song for me.
That's a banger.
That is, man, on Guitar Hero.
Yeah. I love that song because it's like 3 or 4 different movements.
Yeah.
It's like 3 or 4 songs.
Tense, then it gets no, it's not tense. It goes it's like a little bit of smooth jazz to start off. Then it gets really tense, and then you just have this big old happy movement there. Yeah, it's awesome. And they had the guy in the music video playing the double guitar. Have you ever played one of those?
No, I haven't.
How the hell does that work, man?
I believe it's 2 different types of tuning. I'd just be speaking to my ass. I honestly have no idea.
See, I'm a big music guy, but I listen to old school rap mainly, but when it comes down to rock and roll, it's generic now that The Dirt came out to say Motley Crue.
Oh, yeah.
But I was there with Motley Crue at 12 years old learning about human anatomy while Tommy Lee was in a revolving drum stand.
Yeah, front row seat.
Very, very, it's very uncomfortable to watch with your mom whenever Motley Crue has lesbian porn playing on the Jumbotron.
Jeez. Yeah, that is experience.
That's what they had, man.
But for me though, I didn't. Maybe probably because my dad didn't like it, but I didn't really like all the '80s hair metal bands. I like more stuff that had pretty acoustic, great harmonies, like the Eagles, Pure Prairie League, Alabama, big bands with big harmony and pretty songs. That's kind of what I grew up with. And then I've learned to appreciate and love harder stuff and whatnot. But right now, I'm mostly just listening to old country, like Merle Haggard and George Jones, Keith Whitley, old George Strait.
I could
Alan
never
Jackson.
get into it, man. I still could not. I can get into it on some Saturday nights. If it has to be the right mood. You have to be at a camp or on a bonfire.
Sure.
And you're going hunting or doing something that day. Other than that, dude, you'll never find me.
Well, to quote Jamie Foxx in the movie Ray, he's playing Ray Charles. They're saying some very mean things to him. Basically to the line of what would a person like you, what do you like about country music? And he's like, I like the stories.
There are good stories. Like Brad Paisley's "I'm Gonna Miss Her." That's easily one of the funniest, greatest songs I've ever heard.
And there's to get past all the junk of people singing about their truck or a cold beer, girl and Daisy Dukes. I like stories about the human condition that a lot of these older guys sang about.
I will say this: the greatest country song of all time, in my opinion, is "The Highwaymen." Willie Nelson, Chris Christopherson, Waylon Jennings, and Johnny Cash.
Yep.
That is the one country song, if you ever looked on any phone I've ever had or iPod, that is the one country song you would find first.
I tend to go to "He Stopped Loving Her Today" by George Jones, probably that one. I mean, a lot of people consider that one of the greatest country songs of all time, but that's one of my favorites. Real pretty song. I'm sure you've heard it.
I'd have to hear it.
He stopped loving her today.
Look at that voice.
Placed a wreath upon his door.
I don't think.
And soon they'll carry him away.
Didn't ring a bell.
He stopped loving her today.
My mom liked Don Williams a lot.
Oh yeah, Don Williams. I love real pretty deep voice.
I do like some Johnny Cash.
Mm-hmm.
Old Willie's voice is an acquired taste.
Yeah, my mom doesn't like it.
Dolly Parton's is an acquired taste. But I just go back to my go-to old school rap.
Yeah.
Like Sugar Hill Gang, I consider that rap, man. That is the pioneers. Them and Grandmaster Flash and the Fabulous Five. Yep.
Oh yeah.
I listen. That's all I listen to is funk. I like that upbeat. That's my type of music.
Yeah, no, I really didn't get into rap until probably my junior, senior year of high school.
Oh, dude, the first explicit album I ever had was Lil Jon Crunk Juice, and I was around it at all times because my dad was a basketball coach. So I got a very fine tune whenever my mom wouldn't let me get an explicit CD. You had this little Walkman, all right? So anytime you hit a bump, that CD's skipping, man.
Yeah, I had a CD player with headphones.
Yeah, you had to plug them in. If the car hit a little bump in the road, dude, that CD was skipping.
Yeah.
Well, what I'd do is whenever my dad's players would be playing, they'd give me their little CD book, and I just changed mine out. My mom embarrassed the hell out of me one time, dude. She gave me the book that had all the CDs, and it had a Harry Potter soundtrack. And my dad's players are looking through it, and it said, Harry Potter. They just made fun of me. They stuffed me in a locker.
That's funny. The Harry Potter soundtrack. I can only just think of one song, but I guess there was enough to fill up an album.
I don't know. RuneScape had a pretty dope soundtrack, though.
RuneScape, eh?
You remember those days?
Oh, yeah. Mining for all kind of things.
The dial-up, man. God forbid somebody calls that phone.
What was your mining number?
I think it was high, man. It was like 61.
Mutual friend of ours, goes by the nickname Dirty Mike. He still plays RuneScape hardcore to this day.
I still have some friends that play it too, but they play it on their phone. I can't play it on my phone.
Yeah.
You have to be in front of the computer,
Yeah,
man.
he's got it on his computer. He probably has a phone too, but...
Oh, I'd play it too, man. If I had my computer still, I have a laptop, but I mean, if at the time, I'd still play RuneScape. Fuck yeah. I'd rather play RuneScape than go to the bar. Well,
I don't know about that.
I don't know. I went out for the first time in my life. Well, first time in the past 2 months. This past weekend, it was gnarly.
Yeah.
Gnarly.
Halloween weekend.
So let's get. Well, I want to pick my bone.
All right, let's go. What's your beef with LSU fans?
All right, man. Look, I tried to go for these motherfuckers the first time they played Texas because I'm still not over that 2006 Rose Bowl game with USC and Texas.
Yeah.
Arguably the greatest college football game of all time.
So good. That's the game that really made me fall in love with football.
I'm 10 years old, man, and I have my first USC shirt and hoodie on because Reggie Bush is a human highlight reel playing. He's playing NCAA in real person.
Yep.
Is what he's doing. So I'm watching this game, and USC's up. They already won 2 national championships in a row.
Nope. They won one, but go on.
That was where we got into it, about the 2003.
Yeah. Yeah, Nick Saban and the LSU team lifted the BCS championship trophy after they beat Oklahoma.
But USC also lifted an AP national championship trophy.
Yeah, fucking dork sports writers who mostly have a West Coast bias.
Well,
voting USC in, yeah, that makes sense. But writers don't determine who's the champion. The championship game does, of which LSU played in, and they won it, which makes them champions.
But they consider it a split nowadays. So,
well, I mean, it was pretty well known that USC was paying players back then. So I would venture to say that none of those championships counted.
Give Reggie Bush back his Heisman.
I do believe that.
But no. I mean, if we'd have to go off that logic, then we'd have to take away all the AP trophies.
Sure.
So take away Joey B's Heisman?
No, that
was voted on. That was voted on by sports writers.
It was. But if you saw on the field that year, there was no comparison as far as who was the best college football player. It was Joe Burrow. Now, what I'm saying is I just always found it ridiculous that you have a championship game and that sports writers come and be like, actually, no, they're the better team, even though it wasn't determined on the field, like the actual championship game was.
And you know what's crazy? I still think I would have rather see Ohio State and LSU play in that national championship that year in 2019.
Oh, yeah, that would have been a better game, probably.
I think Ohio State got robbed in that Clemson game.
Yeah, that was but I don't know, Clemson still had a hell of a team that year.
They did. But, I mean, whenever you take out your best cornerback off a bullshit targeting call.
Right, I forgot about that.
If you want to see targeting, I'll show you targeting.
See, I really didn't pay attention too much to that game just because, I had all the confidence in the world that LSU was going to win after the Alabama game. After that, I was like, we're not going to lose anything else.
But my beef with LSU fans is this. One, UL is my team because UL is the only actual sports team besides the Ice Gators that have ever existed in Lafayette.
Right.
And the Cane Cutters.
Yeah, no, and I grew up an LSU fan. My parents went there, and I got to get the best of both worlds where I became a UL fan, and I got to see kind of behind the curtain of like, oh, this is why LSU fans aren't looked kindly upon some people.
And some of them are great. Some of them are great people because the people who invite me to go watch the game are awesome. What I'm saying is whenever they win, after you've lost the past 9 years, you still don't have any right to talk shit. You've won 4 national championships in what? How long has LSU been established? Almost 70 years of football team.
Mm-hmm.
You won 4 national championships. Okay, sit down. You had a good year. Arguably the greatest season in college football history. Greatest season.
Yeah.
Not the greatest team.
Yeah.
Not the greatest team. I'd consider a team.
I'd probably say
2 years.
2001 Miami Dolphins.
Miami
Miami
Hurricanes. But then you'd have 2000 and 2001 Miami Hurricanes.
Right.
You'd have 2003, 2004 USC.
Mm-hmm. It was a great team.
Great teams because they came back. Whenever you have, I consider a team as 11-plus returning starters coming back.
Right. Well, I mean, they had like 12 people drafted in the league after that 2019 season. So like it was tough to repeat all that.
It is. Nothing's getting taken away from that because I love Joe Burrow. I can't, dude. If you're a sports fan, a true sports fan, it is hard to root against a person like Joe Burrow. I mean, I was watching today whenever he threw a pass and it got deflected by a Georgia defender and he ran back to catch it and he ran for the first down.
Hey, gritty.
Dude, that's grit.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a true sports fan or somebody who's played sports, that's what you admire and you respect about your favorite athletes. So it's hard for somebody to take anything away from him. And the fact that he came from being a third stringer and found a place where he could, fit in at. And you got to respect the preparation. That's why he's so great, though. His preparation, he has a Peyton Manning type of preparation.
Yeah.
And he has almost like a Tom Brady delivery in a sense. But that's my take on Joe Burrow. LSU fans, on the other hand, your people don't know how to win. They don't. Just don't know how to win. Look, take it from somebody who's used to winning, okay? Whenever you win, just keep your mouth shut. Keep your mouth shut because the moment you lose, it's like my dad said, the moment you lose, son, you're going to get it.
Look, I can't speak to how LSU fans were before 2003 when Nick Saban won a championship, but because of what he built at that program, there became an expectation for LSU fans, sometimes unreasonable to a T, but the expectation is to compete for a championship every single year, and it's why Coach O and Les Miles, both championship-winning coaches, were fired because they weren't able to bring the program in a sustainable direction of championships. And so it's spoiled LSU fans the past 20 years of watching football and cheering for that team. And that's where I think a lot of what you have problems with stems from. The expectation that, hey, we are like in Alabama or in Ohio State or Texas, USC, we like these blue blood programs in college football. We belong here in this conversation every single year.
And you don't.
Right. I would argue that sometimes they don't, but what they've built is a hell of a program that I would probably pencil them in, at least in this new era of college football, as a blue blood.
Yeah, I mean,
Ohio State, Alabama.
I'll give the program
Clemson.
credit.
Yeah, I don't know about USC right now.
Well, if we're going off of the 2003 or the 2000s
Sure, yeah.
to now, I mean, that's 3 national championships.
Yeah, I would put that's 2. I would put USC 2, and but I would maybe Miami, but I'll put LSU for sure, like in that category of the elite programs in college football.
Miami always seems to recoup, man.
Especially since LSU is the only major team in the state, with a state that is filled with athletes and football players. More players per capita from Louisiana go to the league than any other state. And so whenever you have first pickings to all those players, like there is no excuse whenever we're churning them out like crazy. Now my problem with LSU fans stems from me being a UL student and a graduate, and the whole ULL thing absolutely pisses me off to no end. And it's probably what I get in arguments. Like the only arguments I ever get on social media is about that. I try to stay away from that. It's toxic. It's no good for you. It's no good for the mentals, and you're just barking into the ether. It goes nowhere. But I can't help myself. I get like the little brother thing, and that's all well and good. But they're like, well, you're ULL, you're University of Louisiana at Lafayette. Yeah, that is the name of the college, but our athletic department, the nickname is Louisiana. And that has been trademarked, and it's what the sports teams call each other. You can do that too.
I want to make some.
You're LSU A&M.
I gotta say this in terms of bringing up UL. And this is directly towards the UL administration.
Oh boy, here we go.
You are trying to get rid of Greek life on your campus. You wonder why attendance at football games is so fucking bad? It's because you're kicking off the people who, whenever they graduate, donate money directly back to the university. You're kicking off the people who help fund you. And you're sitting there making a mockery out of Greek life because you don't want it to happen. You want to be known as a research school. Cool. If you want to make your school more known academically, fine. That's perfectly fine. But don't take away from the student athletes, because now I see these UL players going into the games, running out of the stadium with all this hype. With their, it's hard for me to think that they can have that much hype and be hyped up to play in front of a stand or a stadium that has maybe 200 to 300 people. You feel bad. Whenever I was pledging, that stadium was packed. You know why? Because you had a good Greek life system. In order for any student body, any kind of sports team to have a good founding, a good support system, you have to have good Greek life. Because they had people from LSU coming to tailgate with us. But then again, LSU was playing away. You ought to be home. You ought to be away. LSU would be home. They had a good thing going in Louisiana at that point. But anyway, back to y'all. Because I ain't done with y'all, motherfucker.
Well, they talk about this culture. That's like their big branding thing.
What culture?
Right. You can't build a culture by infuriating your student body, like you said, who, if they have a good experience in college, they'll want to give back and support the program. But when you push them away, and it's not just Greek life, it's all student organizations. I remember they were originally by the stadium on the College Street Drive or side, and then when I came here, they pushed us to the Cajun Dome side, and then they started pushing the students farther and farther and farther away from the stadium. So by that point, you're isolating it, and it might have been like a money grab thing, but it's so short-sighted. Okay, yeah, you can make a couple more bucks this football season, but you've just shat away the potential to bring revenue to your team the 5 years after these people graduate. A lot of them, they're incentivized to get jobs here in Lafayette and stay and build a family and be a part of this community. But if they're going to do that, they're going to start going to Baton Rouge on Saturdays instead of here, because they have no good memories of going to UL games, because the administration, whoever made the decisions, pushed students farther and farther away, giving them bad memories of going to watch football games. And it was sad, because the era that we were at UL, and hopefully Des can turn it around, and I think he can, but at least for the football team, it was such great success, that unprecedented success at the university for football, that the university should have taken better advantage of by incorporating the students. I'd venture to say there might be 100 students who can name you more than 5 players on the football team.
And we used to be able to do that like that.
Yeah.
Because we hung out with all of them.
Yeah, well, we hung out with them, and we were close to the stadium, and we're going inside to watch the game.
But it was personable for us. I mean, it really was that you could say you go to an LSU game, you have 100,000 people at a game. UL, we could have 20,000 people there, but even though it wasn't 100,000, it made it more personable for you.
Yeah, and the dumbest thing they did was build just more grandstands and getting rid of the field, the hill.
Yeah, dude, that was a trademark.
Yeah, it was something that, like, if you were a Greek in 2002 or if you were a Greek in 2012, you could still have a shared similar experience. And that's what a culture is. It's a shared similar experience that through generations you have similarities with.
I was a little kid rolling down that hill with the arms tucked, man.
Yeah.
Getting stopped by the fence. It was dangerous, stupid.
Right. But they still have that. They still have like the one hill where kids do that on the other side of the stadium. The other side where a lot of the Greeks and students, Greeks and non-Greeks alike, they got rid of that. Just further infuriating your student body, the people who are going to be ideally supporting your program for years to come. But I venture to say within the next 10 years, they're going to be struggling to get money into their athletic program because there's a whole generation of students who were wronged and pissed off, and they're not going to give back to your team. That's the reality.
I'll be brutally honest. If anything was to happen where KA got kicked off, the RCAF ain't seeing no more donations from me. I mean, that's a fact, dude. You're not going to kick off. You're losing. They've already lost 3 fraternities on there because something happened at LSU.
Right.
Doesn't mean, and that was a tragedy.
Yeah, the Max Gruber
Yeah,
case.
that was a tragedy. But because that happened at a different university, I understand people want to get strict and protect the students. But that doesn't mean you have to penalize every single other fraternity or sorority student in the country. UL, listen to me right now. You want to make sure you get students to go to the game? Stop being a freaking, what do you call it? Oh, dude, I'm trying to be nice here.
Don't be nice.
Stop being some fucking dickheads and kicking off Greek life. And let your students have fun. They're in college. Stop penalizing people for something that had nothing to do with us. Nobody from UL got in trouble, and you sit there, you want to call in students every fucking week who are rushing or pledging a sorority or fraternity and try to get that fraternity or sorority kicked off. But, all right, we're talking about the LSU. We're talking about the sports thing.
All right.
I want to know, dude, because that's a topic I don't think I'd be I don't think I would put up because I love my boys over there too much, and I want them to get out of there on their investigation right now. They can't go back to the house.
Yeah.
Under cease and desist.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I was about to start going to their meetings and whatnot. But anyway, go on.
Yeah. All right. So what is your problem with some of my sports takes, man?
They're vanilla.
All right. Explain.
Well, the fact, I mean, you there's no nuance to it. Like when you say USC won a championship, that's absolutely ridiculous and based in nothing but just the fact that some sports writers said that they're number 1, even though they watched the championship trophy being lifted and still put LSU number 2.
That's one we're already aware of that one. What's the other one?
I think my issue is, obviously, like when I first met you, I didn't realize that you were like from Chicago and whatnot.
I'm not from Chicago.
Well,
my dad was.
Your dad was, right,
yeah.
but it's in your blood. And so I often perceived it as you were picking teams to be the antagonist, to be the villain. You've said it yourself on the show. You enjoy being the villain.
I do enjoy being the villain.
Right, and I think you lean into that when it comes to your sports takes. You like to get a rise out of people who are, sports fans are passionate. We're fucking lunatics, right? And so you understand that, and you know that you can piss people off by, throwing out takes about teams that people here probably hate. I mean, there is a disdain for USC from people in Louisiana.
From that 2003 year.
Yeah. I wasn't necessarily just for that, but like, with LSU having so much success during that time, and then of course they're in Hollywood, and so they're perceived as having like all the access to media and whatnot, and we're just being left in the dark, and so I'm sure that there's some animosity there. But yeah, I mean, you know how to push people's buttons, and you lean into it with your sports takes.
Yeah. I mean, you're 100% right, dude. That's why. It's
Answer me this: what do you think Lincoln's going to turn it around?
I think so. I think he has the ability. I mean, he brought Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is a stud. If USC can keep those kids within the 30-mile radius, there's no reason that Bryce Young should be at Alabama.
Mm-hmm. Right. Oh, except for that, Nick Saban shits out championships.
Nick Saban's the GOAT. But, I mean, there's no reason why a kid who grew up 20 miles away from the Coliseum should be going that far out of state.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I love about college football is the regional aspect of it. Like I like California going against Louisiana. That's cool to me. I mean, obviously you're going to get players from all over the country, especially now with the digital age and how recruiting works. And I know Brian Kelly's getting players from, Michigan and Pennsylvania and whatnot. Some of those more corn-fed boys develop that O-line that LSU has had a hard time doing for years and years, but Brian Kelly has a track record of developing great lines at Notre Dame and at Cincinnati. But I like the regional aspect of it. And, USC should be able to retain a player like Bryce Young. I think with Lincoln they can. They can.
He's a great recruiter. He definitely needs to work on the defensive side.
Mm-hmm.
But USC...
What's the timeline for, at the very least, it's not going to happen this year, but winning a Pac-12 championship?
Oof. Well, they only lost one game.
They lost to Utah, right?
Yeah, by one.
Okay, so they only have one loss?
Yeah.
And then Oregon hasn't lost in the Pac-12 yet. They got their shit kicked in by Tennessee, I believe.
Georgia,
right.
A grade A stomping.
Yeah.
Grade A stomping.
Do you think I mean, USC is going to the Big Ten, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Oh God.
So that's gonna be weird. Like watching USC on a Saturday playing at Rutgers.
In snow.
Yeah.
In snow. I don't get it. But
Money.
yeah, they want to make a complete just Power 5. They want these teams to be able to get in.
I think it's gonna be just 2 super conferences between the Big Ten and SEC.
Ooh.
Get Texas and Oklahoma come to the SEC.
But then you'd have to expand that playoff.
Oh yeah, the playoff will be expanded.
You'd have to go 16 teams.
People are not going to like it, but it's what's going to happen.
That's going to be interesting. Very interesting, especially with NIL though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean college football right now it's the wild wild west, and I think I've heard like Big Cat say this, but people complain about how all these different rules and how college football is changing, but at the end of the day, on a Saturday, you're still watching college football, right? You're still watching what you love about the sport is the sport. And so that's not going anywhere. And as the leagues change and the power dynamic and money is now on out in the open, that's going to change some of the aspects of it. But at the end of the day, these players have to win a game against another team, and that's college football with the atmosphere, with the bands and the students and the alumni and just like the pageantry that goes into all of college football. That's not going away, and that's what people love about it. And they're going to continue to support it. It's going to keep making more money, and they're going to keep expanding the playoff until every team makes the playoff. I don't know.
So how does it feel to be on my side of things without a quarterback?
What are you talking about? Jane Jones is good. He's breaking records.
No, I'm talking about the Saints.
Oh, shit. Yeah. No, I mean.
Welcome to my world, ladies and gentlemen.
My dad tells me all the time, as I was growing up watching the Saints and LSU having so much success, he's like, you're so damn lucky. Like, you're going to be spoiled for the rest of your life from the success of this past decade between the Saints and LSU. Drew Brees was a godsend. And he's done so much for South Louisiana and that community, especially after Katrina.
Brady versus Breeze, who you got?
Well, in the regular season, Breeze. In the postseason, probably Brady.
Did you hear that story that LaShawn McCoy told about Tom Brady after Drew Brees' last game?
Mm-mm.
He said after the game that Brady and Breeze were throwing, he was throwing in the field to Breeze's sons and all that. And whenever Brady walked into the locker room to the team, he goes, I got that motherfucker. I finally got him.
No, it was a shame that couldn't watch more of those rivalries. Like growing up, like Peyton Manning and Tom Brady were like the cream of the crop. They were in the AFC. Yeah, we had Rodgers later on, Breeze and Rodgers.
The Antichrist.
Yeah, right. But I really wish I could have watched more battles between like Peyton Manning and Drew Brees and Tom Brady and Drew Brees.
I will say this about Louisiana sports fans. Okay, as much as you don't think I love my Saints, I do. I do love the Saints. The only time I've ever gone against them is whenever they play the Bears. So that 2009, whenever the Saints finally got into 2008 was their first playoff game against the Bears at Soldier Field.
2006.
Are you sure that was 6? Because
Mm-hmm.
the next year they ended up going to the Super Bowl.
No,
2009 they went to the Super Bowl.
2006 was our first year with Sean Payton and Drew Brees and Reggie Bush. That was the year after the Katrina year, and that's when we went to the NFC Championship to Soldier Field, and Reggie had that long touchdown and pointed at Ryan Urlacher and then got a penalty and then ended up getting our shit kicked in. And then 2007, 2008, I believe the Saints went like 7-9 and 8-8, and then they went 13-3 and won the Super Bowl in 2009. I'm 100% sure on that.
I thought it was 2008.
2006, my guy.
Memory bad. It's all right. But anyway, I will say this. As much as you don't think so, I do love my Saints. No matter what. And I got DeMario Davis's name wrong. Okay. Yeah. You gave me shit about that.
DeMario?
Yeah. You gave me shit about that.
I don't remember. I talk a lot of shit.
But I will say Louisiana sports fans are the most passionate ones I've seen throughout anything.
Yeah, we feel it.
Except for the basketball is starting to come into play now.
Yeah.
Basketball, you don't see it because the Pelicans, it's such a small market.
Yeah, and I hate when people are like, it's not a basketball city. It certainly is, but more importantly, it's a city that supports winning.
Yeah.
There are going to be people who are going to be, you have your diehards who are going to support each team, just like a diehard fan would. But for the general mass, Saints are going to struggle a little bit as the Pelicans continue to get better and better, and the support will lean more towards the Pelicans than it will the Saints, as long as the Saints are continuing to sit in mediocrity. And that's just a reality of things for New Orleans fans or fans of the New Orleans teams.
Do you think we should have an MLB team here?
I don't know where. I mean, I don't know where it wouldn't fit in New Orleans. I don't know if there's a big enough market for it. I don't know if, I mean, MLB is such like steeped, baseball is so steeped in like history and whatnot. I think it'd be difficult for an expansion franchise to have success in Louisiana.
Baseball wise, who you going for in the World Series?
Stros. You know why?
Why?
3 reasons. Reason number 1, I started interning at 1037 The Game, Delta Media here, and they carried the Astros when I was in college. And that's when their run started. And so I didn't really have a baseball team growing up. And so I was like, oh, well, they're the closest. And a lot of people here love them. So I'm going to lean into it. And they won. So that was cool. The second is...
Cheated.
Sure. The second is because, like I just said, so many people that I love from here love the Astros. And so I'm supporting them by proxy. The third and most important reason why I'm supporting the Houston Astros over the Philadelphia Phillies in the World Series is because the last 3 times the Phillies have won the championship, the market has crashed. I think it was 1929 was the Great Depression when that went down. In the 80s when they won, it was the worst recession since World War II. And then in 2008, the housing market crashed whenever they won. So every time the Phillies have won, the U.S. stock market has crashed.
It's already on the way to do that,
right? So I don't want to put that nail in the coffin of our economy with the Phillies winning, because obviously things are intrinsically tied to sports. Of course, we know this magic. That's what sports fans like to believe. But yeah, that's the only reason. I really don't have any skin in the game. It's mostly just fun to like make fun of my Yankees friends who are fans of the Yankees when the Astros win.
I still
so
can't
like that.
go
I'm like you. I like to play villain there.
Yeah, you only like to play villain a little bit though. I've decided to take it on as a full-time job.
Yeah, no, I like to be the good guy.
I don't know, man. I mean, it's just not fun.
I disagree. I think
Hannah, what you think?
Yeah, you root for the villain or the hero? Yeah, hero. Duh. Yeah, she's a normal person, not a sociopath like you.
I don't know. One has to ask, what is a sociopath, as Alex would say.
Yeah, right.
We're good. I got a few hard-hitting ones for you.
All right.
That I wrote down, actually.
Oh, preparing.
I did prepare. What does your morning routine look like?
Shit. Well, I would say because I was on the morning show for a couple of years, waking up at 3:30 to 4 o'clock in the morning, once I had stopped doing that, I really, really enjoyed my sleep. And oftentimes, for a while, I wasn't getting out of bed until like 9:30, 10 a.m. Because I'm also a night owl. I stay up and watch a lot of like stand-up or sports or, just YouTube videos, podcasts, read a lot.
Most beautiful face on your podcast network.
Oh, okay. Yeah, your words, not mine. But so nowadays, I get out of bed around 8:30, start moving around. Sometimes I'll go back, lay down in bed if I don't have anything pertinent to do right then and there. And then, wake up, brush my teeth. Sometimes I shower. Sometimes I save that for the evening. Let my dog Knuckles out, and my roommate's dog Chief, he's a pit bull. Knuckles is a greyhound. They are completely different animals. I can't believe they're the same breed or same species. Let them out, feed them, and head to the office where I make videos and podcasts.
All right. If you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be?
I would like to be remembered as somebody who cared, was empathetic to people, and was fair and treated everyone with the amount of respect that I think every human being deserves to be given face to face, with a blank slate. I probably wouldn't treat a child rapist kindly.
No, I think they deserve to get their nuts cut off with a butter knife.
Whoa, yeah, something dull and slow and painful.
Yeah.
But yeah, someone who was empathetic and fun to be around.
That's a good answer. Good answer.
Thank you.
What's your biggest failure, and what did you learn from that experience? That's a little bit more of a personal question.
Yeah, I could answer it.
Which you don't have to answer.
No, I'm done. I'm going to answer it. It's very important to me to be an open book with this whole podcast thing. I want people to trust me. So I would probably say, well, okay, I'll give two answers. One is in life, one's in business. When I was at 103.7 The Game, I was producing a weekend morning show with this host. His name was The Professor, this old guy, and he would just give his morning takes as people were getting in the car, going to wherever they're going that morning. And 2 weekends in a row, I got drunk the night before, partied too hard, and overslept and missed my shift. First one was, slap on the wrist, don't do it again. And then I did the same exact thing the very next day, or the very next weekend, and I was fired. And that was around the time where I really wanted to get into sports media. And I thought that I threw away my entire future, and I had to look at myself in the mirror. It was a time in college where I wasn't ready to grow up yet. My friends were, some of them were just starting to graduate, get out of college, start their lives. Some were even engaged, and I was nowhere near that. And I realized I had some growing up to do. So it ended up being a something that I wouldn't say a blessing in disguise, because I was self-inflicted wounds, but I was able to learn from that and become more responsible and grow up a bit. That's one answer. The other is definitely more personal. I would say failure would be probably my last relationship, where she grew up in the Atlanta area and wanted to move back, and I was initially going to go with her, and then I got the opportunity to do this, and which is something that I've been thinking about for a couple of years, and I passed on what could have potentially been a lifelong maybe marriage, love, kids, all that, to do this. And so jury's still out whether this is going to work or not. Not sure if the relationship would.
Oh, it's going to work.
Yeah, it's going to work. Not sure if the relationship would have worked, but I call that a failure because on my end, I feel like, obviously a relationship goes both ways, and I'm not going to air out any sort of dirty laundry or anything like that. But on my end, I could have definitely communicated more about what I wanted, not just for me, but for us. So that is something that I won't make the mistake again. I think that, I'm a firm believer, like, my next girlfriend will be my wife. That's kind of what I'm looking for in life right now. That's something I've always wanted, a family. I grew up with a great family environment, great parents, and a very loving household. And I want to share that and have that for my own, and also, give my parents grandkids. So what I won't do again is keep things in, communicate my wants more, not just for myself, but what I want out of the relationship, and just be more cognizant of what my aspirations and dreams are for the relationship and for myself to the person that I'm with.
That's actually a big topic that a lot of people that I've found like to hear us talk about, is the relationship thing, especially nowadays with, like you said earlier, social media. Everybody's looking to get the next likes, how many likes they're getting, this and that. I think that plays a big part in relationships. I think we'd agree on that, how you look at somebody's social media profile. But I think with relationships now, communication is the 100% the most important thing, besides trust and all that stuff. Because I'm guilty. I'm just as guilty, man. I mean, I can tell you exactly how not to have a long-lasting relationship. I can't tell you how to have a long-lasting one. But what do you think it is in today's society that makes those relationships so hard to have?
I think it's because you're comparing yourself to all these different people. I mean, social media is, you're projecting the parts of yourself that you want people to buy into or see. And as the viewer, sometimes we get caught up in that, and you start comparing yourself or your girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever it might be to the people that you're seeing constantly on social media. And it's not real. It's a funhouse mirror. And I think that creates a lot of division in relationships. And it's just not that healthy. And I don't see social media going away, but it's got to be a more active thought process by the people who are in the relationship to block out that noise. from social media.
Somebody told me the other day that you might just be scared of commitment.
Sure, yeah.
And I don't think it's so much the commitment part of it. I think you have that same mindset as I do, in the sense of we want to make sure we're established first ourselves with things to where we can give that person that kind of lifestyle that we want to live.
I'm kind of there. I would like to have someone who's like my partner in crime who, is there by my side while I grow something.
But why do you think it is that guys are too scared to communicate nowadays? Because
I don't know about nowadays. I think that's just inherently part of being a man. We tend to keep stuff inside, and I think more so nowadays with all these mental health apps and pushes to improve mental health. I think men are getting better at talking about what irks them, what they love, what they want,
but not with the person that they're with.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where that struggle comes from, but yeah, no, I mean, it's hard to put yourself 100% emotionally invested into another person, because once you do that, you're vulnerable, and a lot of men don't like to be vulnerable, and that creates issues. And so if we can, as men, figure out a better way to do that, where we can be vulnerable but not be scared of that, I think it will ultimately create healthier relationships in the long run.
And you're not saying go home from work and tell your wife what's bothering you about work and this and that, right?
I'm not talking about like that.
Yeah. You're just talking about if y'all have a problem within the relationship.
Yeah. I mean, obviously more so, like between you two within the relationship, rather than like all the other stuff in your own individual lives. I think it is healthy to be like, today at work sucked and this is why. And it's nice to have someone to talk to about that.
So I'm dealing with two people who have been in long relationships here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. One of the things that everybody laughs about that I tell them in relationships, and you know where I'm going, is I think there should be a 6 month to a year layover before you start discussing bodily functions.
Okay.
Meaning, I'm the type of guy that I will not let one rip in front of a woman. And if I don't do that, I don't expect that to happen to me. Now, the moment you do that, all bets are off.
Yeah, no,
it's fair game. It's fair game. But I'm saying my stance is, and that dude, I'm the only boy. I come from a family where all women, my sisters, have never done that in front of me. And I blame them. I told them the other day, I said, Miranda, Alex, I blame you all for me not being accustomed to this.
You should have farted more in front of me.
Yeah, you should have got me accustomed to this. But what is your take on, at our age, people tend to be more open about
everything,
natural things, which they are natural, but I'm just saying, we all have something that gets us turned off.
Well, that's our dirty little secret. You don't want to share your inner disgusting parts of your body, your waste.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Close the bathroom door. It's as simple as that. I can't stand here and people say that they go drop a deuce while their girlfriend's taking a shower.
It might be an individual thing. There's some people who are fine with it, but, that might be part of your relationship, like for the rest of your life, where, the door will always be closed.
That door is going to stay locked. My bathroom time is my private time. But how long did it take for you?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to. But how long did it take for you? How long does it take for you to get comfortable in that aspect?
Well, because of my diet, what I produce is disgusting. And it's more me not wanting to put that poor girl through the demonic waste that exudes from my body, from all the spicy food and beer. It's just no good. So it's less about me being vulnerable and like not wanting to share my disgustingness. It's more like I don't want to put you through that.
So you're gonna get her accustomed to it earlier.
No, I mean shit. Like all of my relationships, like I honestly keep it in as much as I can. Sometimes you
do.
Yeah, I do. I try to keep my nasty little body functions away from
Hannah, what's the appropriate time to let one rep in front of your partner?
3 months.
3 months.
Okay.
Damn, that's way too soon for me.
So you're not about 3 months?
No way, man. No way.
Okay, well, that just goes to show you.
But I mean,
That's a female's perspective too. So maybe Hannah's just gross, but 3 months seems early.
Now it's time for the hard hitting ones. All right.
All right.
Would you ever get back with somebody who cheated on you?
I don't know. To my knowledge, I've never been cheated on, so maybe it would depend on. So much of what you're asking depends on like. I need more like context, and
I don't think there's any context I need to provide for being cheated on, though.
Yeah, knowing myself, I probably would, because I crave love.
You know what I think what it is with us guys is that whenever a breakup happens, and I don't care who you are, breakups are one of the hardest things to get over. Mm-hmm. There's nothing that you can tell anybody that's going to make something like that easy. It's time. Time's everything. I think what it is for us guys is that notice whenever we get in a breakup, the next week we try to go find some girl to bring back with us.
Yeah.
In retrospect, we're really not over that other girl.
No, of course not.
But women are so smart with this because they allow themselves to experience that emotion that they have from the breakup, and that's why they'll be honest whenever they're going through a breakup or they just got done with one. You're not going to see a woman, or in my case, I have dated a woman who got into a relationship with me after a month of being broken up, which that just tells you that they don't like being alone. The best advice I ever got was my mom saying, "Son, do you enjoy being with her, or do you enjoy having somebody around?"
Yeah, that's a big kick in the nuts whenever you realize, like, okay, I'm in this relationship not necessarily out of love; it's because of a maybe convenience, or
lust,
or lust, or just the want and need to have someone.
But as your friend, I just want to know, what scenarios are you talking about? Because I've seen.
Well, I know myself. Like, I'm very bad at the initial stage of trying to get into a relationship. I'm awkward. I'm clunky. I overthink things. I try to be funny too much, and can often be a turnoff. Because I don't know.
You just got to find somebody to match that weirdness.
Yeah, right. And I am weird. But like it's difficult for me to get through that. So like if I'm in a relationship, like a long-term relationship, and this girl tells me that she cheated on me, it would be depending on like how bad it hurt. I don't know. I just know that I would most likely try to give it another chance, depending on, was it a one-time thing? How frequent was it? Who was it?
But then you've lost that initial trust.
Yeah, no, it's to be something you have to build towards. But if it's something that I think I could salvage, I would do it.
How long term?
A couple years.
I find that people are more willing to work towards that too after many years of being with somebody.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the easy answer is just be like, no.
I guess what I'm telling you is, from my experience of dealing with friends, as your friend, if I was looking on the outside in and you came to me and told me, "Scott, she cheated on me," this and that, as your friend, there's a certain bro code that lies within, like, I hate that bitch now.
Yeah.
Pardon my French. Pardon my French, but I would never, like, if you asked me to stand at your wedding or something like that and you were marrying that girl that did that to you, yeah, of course I'd stand next to you by all means, but I would never be able to say, "You're good enough for my boy."
Yeah, no, I think a lot of my friends would probably take that same approach.
That's what you do.
Yeah. I mean, I've had friends whose girlfriends cheated on them.
Yeah, I know, and I see it I see it way too often now. Mm-hmm. And social media allows people a lot of times, like the DMs or creating burner accounts.
Yeah.
It allows people to be able to do that now. Now, would y'all consider texting or a burner account Snapchat, texting with somebody cheating?
Yeah.
Even if they're out of the country or out of state.
Right, yeah. There's definitely, because you're putting yourself in that situation where you could potentially, like, it could lead to cheating.
All right. Is watching porn cheating?
Maybe emotional. I don't know.
No.
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 I don't know. I probably not. No.
As long as you don't know what they're watching.
Yeah. I think I would. I think I would want to know. Like, what am I? What am I? Not. Yeah, okay. Shit. I can't believe I'm telling this story. So, one time we were at spring break in college, and I'm dating this girl. She's married now, has a kid on the way, so happy for her. So, and she actually loves the story, which was wild for me to go through. But so my roommate at the time was also dating a girl, and we're also on the beach. We're just chatting it up, having a great time in the sun, spring break, you know. And then the conversation of porn comes up, and like we're making fun of my roommate at the time because he just loved it. Was a big old porn guy, and the girlfriend was like laughing, like, "Oh my god, that's so funny! Like you're so gross." Blah blah blah. And then my girlfriend was sitting on my lap, and she goes, "Hey, do you watch porn?" And I was, it's like smiling, joking. I was like, I mean, time to time, like, I try not to, but yeah, I'd be lying if I said I don't. And something snapped in her, and she proceeded to like ghost me on the beach the rest of the afternoon. And then I kept coming up to her like, "Yo, like, what? Why? What are you doing here?" And she was drunk. And then she proceeds to, in front of all my friends, yell at me. I was trying to grab her hand. She's like, "Get your nasty porn hands off me." And everyone was just like, "Whoa." And then she starts, grabs her shit, starts walking back to the hotel. And I'm following her. Like, I got to put a stop to this madness. In retrospect, I probably should just let her just go sleep it off. But, some other things were said. There was a family of 4 while we're waiting in the hotel. None of us had the key, and she just, still called me porn hands and screaming at me in the hallway in front of this family of 4 and said, like, I could fuck guys with way bigger dicks than you, but I choose you, and like, I'm just not enough for you, you nasty porn hands. And like this, I'm just like, sorry to these people. Sorry about all that. And that just spiraled. And then, the next day she kind of laughed it off and said, "Yeah, sorry, I was being a little drunk and ridiculous." But I was like, yeah, well, easy for you to say now. I'm the one who's taking the brunt of that all in front of my friends. And I was being honest with you, and you didn't like the answer, and you acted like a kind of a child. So that's my porn in relationship story. So I would just ultimately say, if you're in a relationship, try not to, don't do it.
Would you say not to ask the questions you don't want to know answers to?
That's a big thing. I mean, you had a whole basically podcast about that.
Yeah, I know. You weren't here for that one. I wish you were. I wish we could have got your perspective on that. But I mean, I'm not going to.
Yeah, notice she's not going on mic.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's certain questions though. So let's get to it. What are the top 5 qualities that Carter Simoneaux looks for in a woman?
She's got to be family oriented. Whether she had, even if she had maybe a poor experience in her family growing up, she's got to at least have the want to have a family, and it's not just us two.
Kids are a must.
Yeah, kids are a must. You have to be open to silliness. I'm a very silly person.
That's serious.
I goof around a lot. I love comedy, and I make silly, shitty, independent horror movies with my friends. So there's a lot of silliness involved in my life.
Sewer Gators.
Yeah, Sewer Gators, 99 cents on Amazon Prime. Go look it up. Next movie, Killer Kites, coming out soon. So I guess that'd be like what, 2 of them, family and okay
2.
with silly.
Mm-hmm.
A third, you've got to be driven. That doesn't necessarily mean in career, but I want you to be passionate about something, and not, that doesn't mean passionate about like Real Housewives of Atlanta or reality TV, or even being a fan of a team. Like, I want you to have passion in something that you do, whether it's music or something in arts or crocheting, just something that you've worked on, that you're passionate about, whether maybe your job, whatever it is. There needs to be some sort of passion, so you're not just walking through life like a zombie. Just 4, politically open-minded. I don't necessarily need my girl to be a libertarian or a conservative, and it wouldn't be a deal breaker for me if they were liberal, maybe far left. But if you are far left, then you aren't open-minded to have discussions and come to a agree to disagree type of thing. If you're that's where passion I would not want. If you're super passionate about one side and you won't even hear an argument for the other, it's cognitive dissonance and unhealthy. And then I'd say the final thing is ultimately kind, has the ability to, make fun of people and be made fun of, but you don't do it from a place of malice or mean intent. I want you to be able to, walk in any room and be a joy to be around. I don't like negativity. I tend to exude it sometimes, and I hate myself every time those thoughts kind of come across.
You think about it too whenever you say it too, man. Whenever you get negative and you're optimistic people like we are, whenever you talk about negativity or anything negative, you think back. I find that you think more back to what you said about being negative than you do anything else from that discussion.
Yeah, negativity is a cancer. There's opportunities to be realistic about what's going on in the world and in life and situations, but ultimately being positive, I think, has the better results for you and whoever you're dealing with.
I have a membership to the Optimist Club of Lafayette.
Oh yeah,
yeah, I got it in 8th grade.
Oh, okay. I'd count me in on that club.
And the final question: what is the hardest part about working with me?
The hardest part about working with you is that when trying to get podcasters to join the network, they are hesitant to be associated with you. So I've had to, I have people who want to make podcasts, and I believe they are, and we're just about to from signing the dotted line away from doing it, but they don't want to do it here because they don't want to have the same look as you do. They're fine with being a part of a network and the free speech thing, but people are afraid to be involved with you.
Oh, that should be horrible. It's a horrible thing.
Yeah, it makes my job a little difficult, but, ultimately I'm sticking with my guns, and I believe in free speech, and I don't think you have said anything that warrants you to be, deplatformed.
And I bring you the numbers.
Yeah, and you got numbies.
It must be a little bit far left.
Probably. And some have political aspirations. Some
tell them to come sit in the chair. We'll talk about it.
Yeah,
we can talk about their feelings.
No, I mean, I think what we're building here is, I'm trying to get people away from that fear that, I mean, you can make a YouTube channel and there's probably so many people on YouTube that you diametrically are opposed to, but when it's a small little network, people think like that you two are going to be like holding hands and promoting the same things together. No, that's not the case. I want each podcaster to give them the support to make a good show so that they can attract the type of ads that align with their values and their customers. And you being on the network and doesn't have anything to do with them. And I've gotten people on that side, but yeah, that's also why I'm buying you new curtains so you can have a different look from everybody else.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I said the last show, man. People should never be rude to anybody whatsoever. You should be kind to every person you meet. And I think if you have a disagreement with anybody on anything, you invite them to come sit across from you and have an open discussion.
Yeah.
And I've been willing to do that multiple times, but people think that it's going to be some kind of big abrasive thing. No, in all reality, the one thing that I can talk about fluently without changing like I do with all my shows, it's kind of like a Cajun Joe Rogan in the sense we change topics so much.
Yeah.
The one thing that you'll never hear me change topics on when having a discussion is politics.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can talk policy with you all damn day.
Right.
Is it boring? Yes, but that kind of boring is the kind of boring I like.
It's more the culture war stuff and the battle over language that I think people have an issue with you.
Well, here's the way I go about it. One, I say if you don't like what I say, then fuck you.
Don't listen.
But also, I would never want you to be deplatformed or get your free speech taken away.
Right.
And that's where I can say, middle-wise, people shouldn't be scared to come on this network because of me. If you see me in the street or you see me walking around at the grocery store and I see you, I'm going to walk up to you and shake your hand, and we're not going to have to talk politics. I'm not looking at you and seeing a big old donkey over your head, but you're probably seeing a big old elephant over mine, which is fair. It's fine.
Or, I mean, I think more people probably see like a swastika.
Me?
Not necessarily. I'm just talking like people who are far left see someone like you and they think Nazi.
You realize I have Jewish blood and I have birthright to Israel, right?
Yeah,
that's a funny thing they don't realize about me.
It's fucking lunacy.
And dude, the part of me, you know me, I really am like, fuck you if you see that. But if you call me a Nazi, especially, fuck you, because I really have no empathy towards you whatsoever.
Yeah.
But if you really we get back to that point where you somebody take an invitation to come sit down, which it's fine. I like talking about what my needs and what I like to talk about, but I'm giving you a platform to actually express your opinions and your beliefs to a viewership of people who most likely disagree with you 100%.
Yeah.
But you'd be able to get that point across. And I think that'd be something that anybody, I would go sit on the Young Turks. And talk with them. I'd be more than happy to do that. Or I'd go sit on The View. I do watch The View every day.
Right. Well, I would say, creating a network like this, one of my goals is to just try and strip away some of the propaganda that comes from traditional media and social media that is just out there to divide people. Talking to my boss here is a black man, and talking to him and some others who are from this area, been here a long time. Yeah, they've encountered racism throughout their lives, but the idea that like white and black people in Acadiana like haven't been getting along for generations is silly. A lot of this race stuff came after the invention of social media, and people tend to buy that and then lead into it, and it creates these tribes and tribalism, and at the end of the day, we here in Acadiana have so many of us, black, white, red, green, yellow, blue, purple, whatever the hell you look like, we all have kind of the same things in mind. We want to have a healthy place to raise children, if you're into that, a safe place, fear away from crime, and people also in South Louisiana work as a means to an end. I've said this to you before, but the end being celebrating the joys of life with friends and family at a crawfish bowl or a football game or a festival. And I think a lot of the division comes from outside sources. And whenever you have a situation, a place like this, a platform where you can go talk to someone and hear their perspective and kind of break down those barriers, I think it creates a healthier society. And that's my ultimate goal. Yeah, I want to make money with Acadiana Cast. Yeah, I want to be successful. Yeah, I want to talk about the stuff that I want to talk about. But at the end of the day, I want to build some of the bridges that have been burnt the past few years from overarching political people with an agenda to they're incentivized to pin you apart, and you lean into a certain tribe. It's easier to sell their message that way.
Well, I'll tell you this. I'll tell you one thing, bro. If they're scared to come on this network because of this guy, well, you know what? Fuck them. We'll make money. I'll make money for you.
Yes, sir. I'd like to hear
I'll
it.
make the money for you.
All right.
Fuck them all, man. I got it. I got this, all right? I got this.
I believe you.
Mr. Carter Simoneaux, the best thing that's happened to this network since me. Well, this podcast since me. Since me. But folks, make sure to go check out Acadiana Cast at Acadiana Cast on Instagram. Check out our Facebook page. Check out TikTok at Acadiana_cast. Check out me on Instagram at Lord Scotty D. You could also find me on Facebook, Scott Davis. Be careful on adding me too much. We're about to have to become a like page now. But for more locally sourced content, make sure to check out AcadianaCast.com. We're on Buzzsprout, Spotify, Apple Podcast. Almost anything that you can to listen to anything you want to listen to, we're on. So, as always, this is Unwoken, telling you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you motherfuckers don't want to listen.